Good afternoon. Welcome to the panel discussion on opportunities and challenges in the media and entertainment industry at the TiE ISB Connect. I'm Siddharth Singh. Just to remove the confusion, there is no Sridhar in my name. I'm a faculty member at ISB in the marketing area. And on behalf of TiE and ISB, I want to extend a very warm welcome to my friends on the panel here. I'll give a very brief introduction of each of them, and then they will come and present their ideas about some of the issues that they feel are important in this area. Then we'll have a free-flowing discussion, followed by question and answers. So you probably have seen Mr. Pankaj Pachuri on TV. He is a member of the core committee on media and entertainment of CII. He's a former communication advisor to the Prime Minister of India, Dr. Manmohan Singh, and he has spent 30 years in the media and was a very highly regarded anchor with NDTV earlier. Mr. Kandaswamy Bharatan is Executive Director of Chennai-based Kavithale Productions. He graduated from IIM Ahmedabad in '78 and worked with large corporations for about 12 years. Then he got an opportunity to work in India's film and entertainment industry in 1992. He joined Kavithale. It was a production house. It is a production house, earlier run by his father-in-law, Mr. K. Balchandar. He was a Dada Saheb Phalke awardee. And most important of all, he actually introduced Rajnikant and Kamal Haasan to the film industry. So for a lot of you, that's... Bharatan also conceptualized and designed India's first management course on the film industry, which he teaches at ISB and IIM Ahmedabad. It's quite a popular course, by the way. His production house produced several award-winning movies like Rosa, Sindhu Bhairavi, Duet, etc. We then have Mr. Tapas Chakravarti. He's CMD and CEO, DQ Entertainment, sitting on that other side. Tapas has shaped the success story of his creation, DQE Group. It is in animation, gaming, live-action entertainment, production, and distribution. It's among the largest such companies in the world, actually, with the capacity of producing all kinds of entertainment. It has about 2,700 production associates today. He has received so many awards that I can't list them in this short time. But I will mention some. He received Lifetime Achievement Hall of Fame Award at the World Animation and VFX Summit in 2013 US. And there are about 35 other awards, including an Emmy for Tutenstein animated TV series. Finally, we have the second from that side next to Tapas, Mr. Rajiv Chilaka. He's founder and managing director, Green Gold Animation. He worked in the US before moving back to India to start Green Gold Animation. He wanted to build a Disney studio of India. It started as a one-person organization and has about 350 people today. He has created many hit shows, Bongo, Vikram Vetal, Krishna, and his creation most popular is Chhota Bheem. If you have kids, you would know that. And it's one of the most successful animated series in India. I know that we have got such an eminent group of people, so without further delay, I'll get out of the way, and I'll invite each one of them, starting with Pankaj, to come and share in the next few minutes about what he thinks about the state of the industry and opportunities and challenges. With Pankaj, then Bharatan, in the sequence we can go on, and then we'll have the discussion. Pankaj, please.
Thank you, Siddharth. Thank you, TiE. Thank you, ISB. In 2010 was, I think, first time I came to ISB as a guest lecturer. Not guest lecturer, but as a participant in one of the courses you were doing for the executives. And at that time, I started thinking of the news industry as business. And since that, 2010, I've been keeping an eye on Indian news industry as a practitioner, and then as an observer, and then as a advisor to the highest office in this country. There are other people who can talk about the entertainment side of this. I'll just keep myself to the media and news. If you look at India's news industry, or total media and entertainment. First, the opportunities. Opportunities are immense. KPMG has just said that the compound growth would be about 15% in the next 3 or 4 years in this industry. India has only about 60% television penetration, so there's 40% market which is untapped. And in that 40%, in that 60% also, only about 7 to 8% people who watch news. And but the biggest problem in the industry, which I have seen over the years, is that as a successful entrepreneur, you think that you are responsible and answerable to your shareholder or your investor. But in the news industry, you are also answerable and accountable to the viewer and the reader. So it works on 2 different levels. And that's where the headlines starts clashing with the bottom lines. And once the bottom lines start dictating your headlines, we get a news industry which we have now. And the reason for that is that the news sector in the television specifically, the newspapers are not doing that badly, though they are doing very badly abroad. Globally, big names, legacy names are closing down. Newsweek closed down. And after that, in the US, every week there are 3 or 4 publications closing down now. New York Times building, at one point people were saying, was on sale because they could not deal with the slowdown in the industry. So we have also felt that in India. But since India, the education levels, literacy rates are getting higher, more people are reading, and that's why the print industry is not in a very bad shape. It's the television industry which is spreading pretty fast. It's in a very bad shape. If you look at in the last 10 years, most of the news television companies have not been making good profits, if they are not making losses. Most of them have been making losses, and very few have been in black. And for last 3 years, it has been particularly very bad since we started feeling the pinch of the global slowdown. And we get a sense of gloom in the television industry. This year, which just ended, 14-15, is the first year in last 9 years when the news channels made some profit. And the reason was not because the newspapers have all of a sudden started getting their business right. The reason was the last elections. Because a lot of money was pumped into the news channels, about 2,500 crores or so. And that's why most of the companies are okay. And that's why you also must be seeing that the news on TV, their mood is not that bad as it used to be in the last 2-3 years. So that's what I mean by your bottom lines dictating your headlines. Last year, I've been tracking about 20 listed companies for last few years. 2 of them have merged or closed down. 18 top listed companies in India in media, their cumulative profit was only 142 crores. In the news, it was even worse. The total revenue of each news channel, we have about 400 news channels in the country. The total revenue was about 6 crores. That's less than $1 million. That's what I expect good anchors to get paid in a year as an anchor. So it has become a bit better, but until we change the product, the news industry, if you're an entrepreneur, if you are an investor, and if you are a student of news, it's going to remain the same until people in India start paying for news. Our tradition culturally is that we don't pay for information. We'll get everything on net which is free. We won't pay for our subscription. All the news is free, by the way, what you see these days, because they are free to air channels, all of them. We don't pay. Subscription has just started happening. It's merely about, in the best case scenario, 15% of, say, ZTV and big companies like that. We don't pay for news. We believe that if we look culturally, Narad Muni will come and give us all the news. Or Mantra will come and give us all the news. Or the local panwala, or the chaiwala shop, or your barber will give you the news for free, while we pay for them for some other service which they are giving us. Unless and until we start paying for news, we will not get good news. So as an industry, unless we can convince people that the product called news will be better, we will not get the revenues and people will not pay for that news. So that's the first opportunity is huge, but that's the first challenge. And the challenge can be met only by talking not just about the consumer of news. If I keep selling something to our consumers and do not talk about the rest of the market, in the news it doesn't work. I can sell a lot of cold drinks or a lot of other product, shoes or whatever, only to people who buy me. I can target them. In this case, we have to target the entire citizenry. So there's a difference between the consumer of news who will pay for my news, but my target has to be the citizen who is not buying my news. Unless I keep the citizen at the center of the news market is not going to become better. Because this, as I said in the beginning, this is a different kind of product where you are answerable not just to the shareholder, you are also answerable to public at large. That's all I'll say for now. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thanks to TIE, thanks ASB and Siddharth for this wonderful opportunity. I basically represent the film industry mostly from Chennai, the South Indian film industry, what most people refer to as Kollywood. But outside India, it's all Bollywood, because the whole Indian film industry outside is called Bollywood. I just want to share some interesting facts about the film industry and then talk briefly about the opportunities and challenges. First, the interesting facts. Now, how many of us know that the word Bollywood is now in the Oxford Dictionary? From the year 2003, it's part of the Oxford Dictionary. So we don't have to be ashamed of the term Bollywood anymore. Second, India is the largest producer of movies in the whole world. Average output of films about 900. But we just have 1.5% of the global revenues, just 1.5%. Hollywood has almost about 55% or more of the global revenues. And Hollywood produces just 1/3 of what we produce. So part of this is because of the global reach of Hollywood, which we are still trying to get there. we have a long way to go. Another fact, how many of you know that India is the only country in the world which produces movies in 16 languages? No other country in the world produces more than 1 or 2 languages, including US. So 16 languages, including Bhojpuri today, which is quite a significant industry. As we speak here, 15 million people are watching films in theaters every day. 15. That's 4 times the population of Singapore, almost the population of Canada, 80% of Australia, watching films every day in theaters, paying an average ticket price of about 80 rupees, $1.2 per ticket. Average ticket price in Hollywood is about $9. Some new films fetch about $10, $11 first weekend. So these are some of the interesting facts. As far as the screen density, we are a population of 1.3 billion. How many screens do we have? Any guess?
4,000.
No? We have just 16,000 screens for a population of 1.2 to 1.3 billion people. US has 36,000 screens for about 300 million people, 300 plus. France has 7,000 screens for a population of just 62 billion. Screen density in France is the highest in the world. So therefore we have a huge potential just by building more and more multiplexes. In fact, talking of multiplex, people say one of the biggest innovations in the multiplex is the cup holder. Because sales of Coke, Pepsi and beverages doubled after you can take the Pepsi back inside the multiplex. So it's not just the digital picture and sound, which are big innovations technologically, but the cup holder is a big innovation. Of course, we copied this from the multiplexes of the West. So 16,000 screens, and out of which we have about 10 to 11% are the digital screens. So therefore, one of the major opportunity is the digitalization of content. So I want to speak about content creation very briefly. The biggest opportunity today is content. Until about 5-6 years ago, people used to balk at the challenge of content. How are we going to create content? It was all left to the big directors or production houses. Today, anybody can be a film producer, a short film producer, thanks to digital technology and YouTube. If you have a good story, if you have something to share, you can make a short film of 3 minutes, or 5 minutes, or 10 minutes, put it on YouTube, make it interesting, make it digitally good, you can make money. After coming here to teach here, this batch, I discovered there is a student of mine who runs a production house in Mumbai. So she has just taken a break to come and get qualified, and she will go back to, hopefully, to work in this production, which is one of my dreams, that more and more MBAs come back to this industry and change the industry. The interesting thing is this production house, on a shoestring budget of 6,000 rupees, made a 4-minute short film. And this film was put up on YouTube, gained almost 1 million views, and earned back about 3 lakhs in revenues. Not a multiplex, no television, just YouTube. So this is a big story. So the great trend that's happening today is any one of us can be a producer, can be a content creator. And this is a very heartening trend. Again, I just want to mention about the big challenge here. how do we create content which is engaging? Now, the same research I did on Google, I found as we speak, 60 hours of video is getting uplinked every minute on YouTube. That's 3,600 hours of video every hour, 21,600 hours of video every day, all kinds of content. So how do we keep track of this content? So I think we are heading into not oil economy, not commodities, but the attention economy. The biggest economy of the future is attention, because attention is going to be the scarcest resource. How are we going to get attention for our content? This is the challenge for all marketers today. So this is a challenge. So while we have the opportunity for content creation, the biggest challenge is getting the attention, how to make differentiated content, how to engage the audience, how to engage the customer. So let's talk about movies a little bit. So if we are talking about just Bollywood films, we have about 230 films out of this 900 in Hindi every year. That's an average of 4.5 films a week. These are new films. If you go to television, you have a choice of 46 films which are less than 5 years old, some of them less than a year old, available on television. These are just Hindi. You have a choice of another 20 films, Hollywood films, less than 5 to 6 years old on television. So how are we going to get people to choose and watch films and bring them to multiplexes? Because this is a leisure good, this is an entertainment good. So with all this, therefore, getting attention, getting the right product out is a big challenge. So having said this, there's a huge opportunity because we are just 1.5%. Let me give you one more interesting statistic here. The global M&D, as we call it, media, entertainment industry, has been growing at about 3.5%. Our industry has been growing average last 5 years at 12%. Our GDP growth in the last 3 years is average about 6.57% average. So GDP is 7%. M&D sector is growing at 12% with minimum support. This is the traction that this industry itself is able to generate. And the great challenge here is today, I see a lot of our students, business school students, are very keen on alternate careers. Not everybody wants to go into consulting or financial services. Okay, these sectors are very interesting, but a lot of people want to go into creative industries. And this is a great opportunity. When I designed this course, it was with a vision to get more professionals into this industry, because our industry can become the next IT of India. This has the opportunity. Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Ty and ISB, for inviting me here to speak. I specialize in kids content, so I think some of my statements or whatever I'm going to talk may connect more with that. I think we are talking on a very broad topic and it's very interesting, and there's so much scope for creating entertainment for 1.3 billion Indians in India, and today we can reach the rest of the world. So pretty much we can reach almost the entire world, probably 6 billion plus people, with creating good content. And I think everybody agrees that content is king. And I think the future, I think the most important thing what we need to do is embrace change. And change is happening every day. Technology is changing. The way we are viewing content is changing. I mean, if you go back and see in 2000, in the beginning of 2000, we had one kids television channel in India. Today we have about 17 kids channels, catering to this market. Some of the facts we need to understand before we make content for this market. One, 50% of Indian population is below the age of 25. My numbers are approximate. And then what is more important point is that 50% of TV watching audience is below the age of 16. But somehow a lot of people are missing out the fact that we need to make more content for kids. India has one of the youngest populations in the world, and there's a lot of opportunity within India itself. The second most attractive audience is teenagers and young adults. And I think that's why you see all these love stories and movies like what Ekta Kapoor makes are doing very well because she understands the audience well. And for us also, I think it's very important thing to understand what audience to make. How do you basically maximize your investment? Your return on investment. So that's one of the important things. I'll give you an example. So when we made, I think all of you have heard about Chhota Bheem, and 40 million kids follow Chhota Bheem. So when we made our first movie called Chhota Bheem and Curse of Damayan, we released in the box office. We were pleasantly surprised. It got a decent, very decent revenues at the box office. So we're pretty happy and we were very excited because we had no expectation when we went to the box office. But one of the observations was when so the first one we didn't do this for this first film, but we made the next year one more film also, Chhota Bheem Throne of Bali. This is way back in 2013. So when I Friday morning at 11 a.m. the first show was there at this was in Mumbai, Cinemax. I don't remember the theatre name. I went to see how many people will actually come to see on the first day, first show. In our a huge theatre like this, there were about 20 people who came to see about 100 people audience. But on the next screen was Ashiki 2 was playing in second week, and it had 100%, it was house full. And it kind of baffled me. Ashiki 2, come on, who wants to see that? But it kind of baffled me. Come on, I was thinking, why not? Nobody comes to see this film. But it was just the starting, and our movie picked up. And kids' movie always pick up with the word of mouth. Parents like to know how do you. They ask other children. So with word of mouth, a lot of people come to theaters. But one of the things I learned from that experience is that who is going to this Friday morning at 11 o'clock? They are these young adults who are either in the intermediate or first year or in the college, and these are the college audience who's going. And we need to understand that they are also a very big, they are our target market when we are making entertainment. Of course, we need to make some message in our movies, what we are producing, or television content. Amer Khan just said a few days ago, I was at Fiki Frames and I was hearing in talk, and he has just said that our kids today are watching content that is made for adults, and it is very dangerous because these are young minds and we need to show them the right content. And there is so much opportunity that we can do for the kids market, not just for preschool, and preschool market is there, entire market is there worldwide. And for the Indian market itself, we need to make more content which is good and catering the kids audience, because that will shape the young audience. And Albert Einstein once said that, if you want your children to be more smart, read them fairy tales. And if you want them to be really, really smart, then read them many more fairy tales. The reason he said that was, he also explained why he said that, was that when you tell a story which is imaginary, the child starts to imagine that. He doesn't limit his imagination. So he imagines that and his mind expands. And when his mind expands, it never shrinks back to his original size. And that's one of the things that we need to show, we need to do for the kids. Earlier days, the grandparents had plenty of time, or the parents had plenty of time, and they were telling these stories to the kids. But today's parents mostly are working parents. By the time they get back home, they are tired. The grandparents also, mostly they are nuclear families. So the children look forward to the television to view their content. So it's important that we show them the right content, which is, of course, made for them and which excites them. And one of the things about kids is that they love to watch same content again and again. So if they like something, they like to be in this comfortable space. They don't like surprises. And we need to understand that also. I mean, like if 2-3 kids are watching a content that one of the kids has already seen, he's so excited because he knows what is going to happen next. And he tells the other friends, hey, I know what is going to happen next. So this kind of small thrills the child gets, and the child like to be in comfortable space, and we need to also understand that. Of course, talking a bit about the future, I think the way the content is being viewed has changed and is fast changing. Today example, I think the cricket match, I won't say the semi-final match, but generally the cricket match, if you see the World Cup, people were watching the World Cup in multiple devices. On television, then on mobiles, on iPads. I think all of you, some of you would have, when you are busy, you go to that Star TV and watch that. You also had this new app that was launched during the World Cup called Hotstar. I think there were so many downloads on that one. So I think that is the space that is changing quickly, the way you're watching. And also when you're watching a cricket match on television, you're also SMSing your friends, hey, what do you think? Do you think India will win or India will lose, or do you think what need to do? So there are multiple devices. So you need to understand that as well. The audience is accessing multiple devices, and with 4G coming in and internet and broadband going to be better and better, I think the way television is going to be broadcasted will change very quickly, and we need to be ready for that. And I think tomorrow anybody can be a TV channel. But what is important is that we own content, and we have to make good content. And I think most of you probably have smart TVs at home. And if you switch on your smart TV, I think you will also go to the app space, and you see so many preloaded apps wherein you can go to, example, Bigflix, you can go there and watch content for free. And similar things are happening across the globe. So tomorrow, where you can monetize your content can be on the internet, can be on the HD TV, can be on a smart TV, can be on iPads, and of course the internet, like he mentioned about YouTube and all. So, especially kids content also on the YouTube is very, very popular, and there are success stories out of India. And now YouTube is funding companies to produce content, original content from them, and some of these companies are Indian companies. So India also has come a long way. It has become corporatized, and in a simple manner, I think the future for entertainment in India and the rest of the world is always going to be there, and it's going to be fantastic. And of course, we need people like Steve Jobs to come out of India and create fantastic thing. And I think India has got that potential, and they're bright entrepreneurs and who need to do, and we all need to think differently to do that. And I think pretty much that's it from me. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Ty. Thank you, ISB, for inviting us to share our experiences and what we have done and what we want to do in future. I'll quickly introduce you for many of you who don't know us. We are a little odd man out of the panelists out here, because 99.9% of our production, the content creation, IPR production, is for international markets, global markets. We hardly produce anything for India, because when I founded this company with 5 venture funds or 5 private equities, the focus was very much on the bottom line and the top line. You know, that balance sheet driven company, so it was very tough for us. And we realized that if we remain in the Indian content industry and distribution, we are not going anywhere. And Rajiv has done very well with his Indian focused venture, but our mandate was entirely different. So we created a company which produced for the international market, for the age group of 0 to 4, where it's a challenging children's market, and it was global approach. And we in time acquired in Paris, we acquired in Ireland, and consolidated our situation where we could produce international content without any problem. And on an average, we produced 25 to consolidated in 3 countries, where 25 to 30 television production, 4 to 5 movies, which is content-wise very large. No other company in the world produces so much. But we kept our focus, our core strength on the children's entertainment, international entertainment, basically in animation. And recently we went into live action and the hybrid, which is animation and live action together. That also we are producing. And the experience grew with us trying to distribute worldwide, which we do very well. We distribute all our IPRs. 80% of our production is IPR production, which we produce and distribute. We co-produce mostly with the international children's broadcasters, and then we distribute globally. We monetize it through licensing, merchandising. We monetize it through various platforms of broadcasting, and we monetize with publications, music publications, gaming. So it's a multiple revenue streams that we generate through our experience of the international distribution market. So that's what, in a nutshell, we do. We operate out of India, Manila, Paris, Los Angeles, and Ireland. In recent times, we have seen that the traditional distribution channels have been disrupted. When I say disrupted, I mean that the evolution of digital content distribution and utilization of the content or use of content at wish as will by the consumer on any of the devices they wish has disrupted our industry. I must tell you that worldwide broadcasters are running helter-skelter to add digital distribution in their portfolios from their traditional broadcasting. Whether it is free TV, terrestrial, or pay TV, everybody is running helter-skelter. And this is happening so more for last 1.5, 2 years after the likes of Hulu, Netflix, and many other, Yup TV and Amazon and others have come for distribution of content through streaming. The home video distribution, which was one of the big businesses in US and Western countries, has taken a big beating. The Blu-ray and the video purchase and the rentals have gone down dramatically, taken over by the live streaming by the likes of Netflix. Netflix, which is now in more than 50 countries, has a global ambition. They want to go 150 countries in next 3 to 4 years' time, spending multi-billion-dollar investments for distribution. So with these kind of challenges, at one side, the broadcasters are facing and will face lots of challenge to distribute through the traditional distribution channels. So I'm specifically talking about entertainment for the kids. And the same thing more or less stands for the feature films or the films also, with any language, any country. Coming back to India, it's slightly different. I'm very excited with the latest government coming in and taking some very major initiatives in broadcasting. You know that we have a monopoly of Doordarshan, Prasar Bharati in India, where I understand that more than 600 million homes are reached by Doordarshan with whatever content they produce, but most of the content for entertainment is substandard, and they've stayed far behind. On the other hand, they have recently entered into a contract with German broadcasters worldwide, and they want to reach 120 million homes. These are very big numbers. And if the government of India, which is taking decision now to open up Doordarshan for children's content creation, then the company like ours, company like Green Gold, will really have great big business coming in, because there is no real good quality Indian content available for the market. Most of the content are actually imported, and whatever we produce also are actually Anglo-Saxon content. They are not meant for the local markets, for villages or mufassals or for districts. So huge market is going to open up. that digital distribution will change the way the content is distributed and viewed and produced. We have to produce much faster. On an average, for 52 episodes of television series that we produce in 3D or 2D, takes 18 to 22 months. That kind of hard work goes into it. On an average, to produce international high-quality television series in 3D takes $8 to $10 million for one television series. So it's not easy. It's very tough business. But on the other hand, with the distribution, digital distribution, the content requirement has immensely increased. So that's why for the last 1.5, 2 years, we have gone back into a situation where many distributors are coming to us and asking us to produce more, asking us to produce new creations. They are more hungry to reach out to the kids and the families for new created content, not only the old catalogs. So there a lot of scope is there. Doordarshan's opening up will also give us tremendous, I'm very hopeful, I'm very positive, and if that happens, then a company like ours will definitely get into creation of the local content. And I will leave left for the interactive session, and Siddharth, I leave it to you, and we'll proceed. Thank you very much.
It will be easier, I can. So let me start with Bhartan. We all of us hear about in the Indian movie industry, the financing is an issue. So sometimes newspapers talk about mafia money or other illegitimate sources. So what do you think is the extent of corporatization or professionalization of this sector?
I think it's a very valid question, very relevant. Till as recently as about 6-7 years ago, a lot of people had the perception, and which was also true, that most of the film funding was happening from dubious sources. People spoke about mafia finance, underworld finance, and so on. Fortunately, 2004 was a landmark year. In that year, the entire film industry got officially recognized as an industry. And how many of you know that Indian film industry is basically Indian cinema is as old as cinema itself. So we completed 100 years in 2013, just 2 years ago. But for almost 90 of those 100 years, the means of financing of films was an extremely challenging proposition. On the one hand, film business itself is very risky because we had very limited platforms of monetization at that time. On the other hand, the cost of funds was extremely high. People used to borrow at 24 to 36% rates of interest. But as I just said, 2004 changed all that. We had recognition, which meant that banks could officially look at film industry. So IDBI was made the lead financial institution. IDBI, I believe, has financed about 100 plus films in the last 10 years, which is not a big deal, basically, because we produce about 850, 900 films every year. But I think it's been a good start. And there have been some guidelines for financing of films. So therefore, there is a certain structure today. Also, there are 6 to 7 listed companies in this sector today. These companies which have gone for valuation, gone for IPO and got listed. So today I can safely say there is no underworld in film finance. Also the level of professionalization, you spoke about corporatization and professionalization. We have a lot of M&As that have happened in the film industry. For the first time in the history of this industry, an Indian company went and acquired Spielberg's DreamWorks, Reliance Big Cinema. It was big news about 5 years ago, 4-5 years ago. We have a lot of co-productions that are happening. The top 6 Hollywood studios all have a presence in India, in Mumbai. Starting from Disney, Fox, Paramount, and so on. And by the way, it was the president of Paramount who said about 40 years back that is in this industry, nobody knows anything. You know, it's very difficult to predict what's going on, but today we have many more structures and systems. We still have a long way to go because the creative part of this industry is very professional. We have a lot of creative professionals. We have very few management professionals. So I'm hoping that schools like ISB and IIMs will throw up more students who will come back. We have done a lot of best practices and this should continue.
I think the next question can be answered by any one of the panelists. What do you think are the two big opportunities for entrepreneurs in this space? So if you have to, and then we'll come down to news. I think news is something that will suck all of us in. Yeah, please go.
Okay, I just have one quick thought. Opportunities for entrepreneurs, I just spoke about for content across multiple platforms and multiple devices. And today we see that content is portable. We had the large screen, the multiplex, the small screen television, but today it's the personal screen and the mobile screen that is very important. So I think there's a huge opportunity for content. And there's also a huge opportunity for talent development, creating more schools. We have thousands of management schools. We have hardly 4 or 5 creative schools. For largest film industry in the world, we have just about 5 schools all over India.
As I said, focusing on our industry, I think a lot of opportunity is opening up in India for content creation. And when I say that we are producing for toddlers aged to 10 or 11 years old, sounds very simple, but it's not. It's a humongous amount of content requirement worldwide. But the broadcasters or the digital distributors, they want very high quality content. Content which will run not in one country, but it will go on multiple countries, multiple platforms. And there is a gap. And we are taking advantage of that. We are producing a lot. And we just can't cope it because it's not easy to produce. The cost for production is also very high, but there's an opportunity out there. And anybody with creative bent of mind or willing to get into the media and entertainment, this is a golden time to enter. And the funding, on the funding side also, for startups with a good background, I think private equity to venture funds are coming forward. We, after 7-8 years, we also went ahead and this year we raised funds. And though Indian venture fund were difficult, but we did raise fund from Hong Kong, very large amount of fund to pump in to enhance our content and creation and enhance our capacity. We are enhancing our capacity by almost 40% in India and Paris. And I feel that there is an opportunity there for budding entrepreneurs to come in and pitch in and enjoy this industry.
I did not touch on the opportunities when I was talking about, because I was the first speaker, I didn't want to take too much time. The opportunity in the media and the news basically is coming, as all of us know, is on digital. Last Nigeria election, BBC, which is a very traditional organization, they were using BBM during the elections in Nigeria. In India, they were using WhatsApp. Guardian newspaper is totally revolutionizing its presence on the digital. Newsweek has totally gone digital. So all the big news organizations are seeing this opportunity in the digital space. So that's one big thing. For India, before this session, there was an e-commerce session. I was listening to people. They talked about a concept of a Kirana store working as an aggregator for people who are offline and can't shop online. That's the kind of new thinking we have to come up in the news segment. We need good aggregators of news, of specific aggregators of news. If you want to know something only about cricket, What is news? News is basically someone sitting there editing the information. Now there's so much information on the net that you need good editors sitting there, aggregating that news and giving to people who want that particular news. So if I want only politics, I'll get only politics. If you want only sports, you'll get only sports. If you want news only about Chhattisgarh, you'll get only Chhattisgarh. If you want news only about Ranchi, you'll get Ranchi. And that will be available to you on different platforms. You can become a WhatsApp member, so you'll get that. You can be on BBM, you can be on SMS. And for this, connectivity is not a big problem. Because as long as you have some sort of connectivity, you can get news. So for the entrepreneurs and for investors, I see that as a big area. But as everyone is saying, the main opportunity here is on content. The kind of content which we've been getting on news, especially on television, it's pushing away consumers. The total amount of news consumed is going down. The number of televisions sold in the country is increasing. So there is a disconnect somewhere. The people are going away from news. And that is because of the poor content. I mean, how many times you can see one sixer by Dhoni? Or how many times you can see one scene from a Salman Khan movie? You have to create good content, and that content, as I say, would come from the areas of India and of the world which are unexplored. How many of you know that in India, the ownership of mobile phones is only 28% among women? And this I found on a website for rural India. So these kind of new areas which the daily news doesn't explore, which operates mainly from studios in Delhi, that we need to concentrate on, and that's where the new business opportunities will come, and that's where the new creative opportunities are going to come. I think that's the future we have to look at.
Just want to add to what Mr. Pankaj said. There's also about digital distribution. We spoke, my friend spoke about digital distribution some time back. This is a great opportunity. In fact, we had sessions on e-commerce. Let me just share with you two of my students from this school, Indian School of Business. 2 years ago, they decided not to go for placement. They started a digital distribution platform for movies. Their vision was to be the next Netflix of India, probably in about 7-10 years. So this is, the portal has been set up, and it's going to be very interesting because they have succeeded in getting the South Indian film industry interested in this to part with their content. So there is going to be a big opportunity, because what is happening today, the first weekend in the film industry is considered extremely important. We have a saying in the film industry, the movie opening is like a parachute. If it doesn't open, we are dead, right? So the first weekend becomes so critical. But who's coming for the first weekend? It's just 8 to 10% of the market. And in movie industry, the half-empty syndrome is more powerful than the half-full syndrome. So if 50% of the theater is empty, people go back and say this film is not drawing crowds. 90% of the market which is outside, which can watch your film on DVD, on television, on internet, they don't watch your film. But they get the message from social media, this film is a flop. So this is actually affecting the revenues of the industry. So there's an opportunity. I think we have to promote the alternate platforms.
Given our time constraints, I think it would be good to take questions directly from you. That would be make this more relevant to you.
To Kandaswamy Bharatanji. The Telugu film production is monopolized by a few groups, and the theaters are not available for local small producers. Then there is also this phenomenon of Tamil movies made in Chennai being dubbed in Telugu, and then the big producers in Telugu filmdom are complaining that the Tamil movies dubbing is affecting their sales. So what kind of because South India, Tamil and Telugu, there seems to be a common culture, and so how do you see this challenge between Telugu productions and Tamil productions and dubbing, etc.?
All right, I think it's a valid question. Basically, good content will get dubbed or remade, and there is no escaping that. In fact, what surprises me is that while we are divided by so many languages, we have a common culture. Okay, we are able to absorb Hollywood films, but why can't we absorb good Bengali films dubbed in English? Not dubbed, subtitled in English. Why can't we see good Bhojpuri films subtitled in English? Okay, why should we just go for cross-pollination of these same stars? Okay, if Mr. Rajinikanth is popular in Tamil and Telugu, producers will certainly look at monetizing him across 2 languages or 3 languages. So I think there is no harm in that, because it de-risks films quite a lot. Just like Hollywood looks at sequels as a good way of de-risking, I think dubbing and remakes of good films has to be done. And we have to have some kind of coordination, because between the film sectors, there has to be greater coordination and collaboration to make more content available. I hope it answers your question.
How do you make people pay to content? Why? Because it appears to me that we are doing bad in every field, in music, in internet, radio and podcasts, in independent film productions, whether it's screening or otherwise, in TV is obviously hopeless, theatre and other art forms. I think in every, like, we are 1.3 billion people, and I don't think the independent bands are doing good, the independent TV shows are doing good. We are watching a lot of Game of Thrones, Sherlock and other Hollywood content, but I honestly didn't see one TV serial so far. And similarly music, we are listening to Iron Maiden, Metallica, AC/DC, but not many Indian bands. And similarly podcasts, I listen to a lot of podcasts myself. So my question is open to panel. How do you make people pay for content? Why? Because downloading is a lot more easier than actually going to the hassle of paying for content.
I think again we go back to the basics of management studies that we have done in my management days or your management days, demand and supply. When the quality content will become the way of life in our country and the demand will increase, then perhaps there will be time when we will be able to start monetizing them, we can start charging them. On the other hand, the digitization and download and the piracy is not helping. It's really very, very negative. And however we try, and like for instance, I'll tell you that one of our French movies with a very big budget we made, and I was in Beijing for a conference, and in the evening we went out to the local market there, and that movie was released only 2 or 3 weeks back in Europe. It was not even released in Asia or US, and the DVD was available in the market out there. That really hurt me. I felt like buying out all the DVDs in the market. That's not possible, but I bought few and brought it back with me to show it to my co-producers in France and US that this is what is happening in Asia. They said it's not only happening there, it's happening on digital platform. Like in torrent, you can download anything you wish. The movie which has been released 3 days back, you can get it on torrent or similar digital platforms. So it's a very big challenge. And this is what, before we came here, we were discussing in the lounge. And your question is the question that we are asking, that how do we get to a situation where consumer starts paying in India? That's a very big issue, and there's no easy answers to this. I can leave it to my panelists also. And that's why in our company, we decided to stay away from Indian distribution for some time till India matures. I don't know whether it will happen in near future or not, but I leave it to the imagination of the panelists here.
I'd like to add something here. It's a very tough thing to do, that I agree with him that it's a very tough thing to do, but it is possible. Let us take a look at what happened in the past. And when Doordarshan was available for free, there was no and there was new satellite channels coming, and then there was something called cable that came. And I'm sure some of you have gone through this when the cable operators come to your house and they first say, okay, you take the connection, first month is free, and then if you like it, then you can renew it, you can pay for it. If you don't, we will remove the connection. So the first month they tempt you with free content, they show you, and then if you like, then obviously you cannot, once you are addicted to it. I mean, today, if you go to a slum in Mumbai, you will see a Tata Sky or a Airtel dish on their thing, and they are paying for content. And it is already happening. And the guy may not buy a sofa set, but he would buy a HD television with a HD connection. This is based on a research that we have done on biggest slum in India and Asia, that is Dharavi slum. So people are paying for content. For television they are, and they can afford it. That's one of the reasons. And it is happening, and digitization of content is changing. But again, when it comes to music and other things, and mobile apps and something, and people are paying for the downloading the games and stuff, but it is not happening as much. It should happen in India than the rest of the world. But I think it's just matter of time. People will accept that. They will be ready. If it's good content, people will definitely pay for it.
Yeah. I agree with that. And whatever we've been talking about, animation, movies, and even news. If you do good news content, people pay for it. And there are publications, The Economist is one of the best examples in that. That it's a high priced magazine, and people pay for its content not only online, but they actually physically buy it. A lot of publications now are going for, that's some new innovations which are coming in news. Jerry Seinfeld once said that how come the news people know why the news always is the same amount that fits the newspaper. Now news doesn't fit the newspaper. So that's where the new innovations will come. That you will have your newspaper, then you will go online, then you will go on your WhatsApp, then you will go on some other service, and you will keep giving information. The BBC recently in their approach paper on the future of news is talking about now that they're not talking of news anymore. We are in information business. Because news was that we distill that information and we call it news because the editors decide this is news. And the rest of the information is not news. So now it's information business where you'll get different kind of information from a news outlet on different platforms. And people will pay for it differently. If you want really high value content, like you want, say, the intelligence unit of Economist, you have to pay more than what you actually pay for the opinion or the blog of their editors. So that's how you will pay. It now won't fit this thing. Secondly, the biggest problem in India is that we keep talking about India as a huge market and a big market and all that. A year ago, IMF did a study that only 7.6% of Indians' income was more than $4 a day. Only 7.6%. So you keep that in mind, that we are actually a very low income country. And to get people to pay from that, India has the lowest ARPU in cable and satellite world. And it's like in cents, not even in dollars. It's like 75 cents or something per unit. That's your monthly income from that. So people will pay, but they'll pay only what they value. And good content is part of that.
the news is paid by the common persons, the good news will be produced, right? You told them. So news means the people and society. Suppose if there is an accident is going on, every TV channel will highlight that accident or something. So the stamp ratings are also going on good at that time. So you are not paying anything to the, accident family or something. And sometimes it's a murder is going on, you are highlighting the news as a news, and your ratings are very good. But you are not paying anything to the victim. But how can you, accept like news is paid by citizens? It is giving the good news.
Good news is no news.
So the content is only people. Your content is only people and society, whatever that is.
Earlier, it was that no news is good news. Now, good news is no news. So, and what you're talking about, content, other people, naturally, that is the mandate of the people to a news organization. That to a certain extent, whether it doesn't intrude in the privacy of a common citizen, whatever happens in the society is news. Otherwise, everyone will be filing for IPR against all news channels, and that will be a very sad day. So that will not happen. But what you are saying, is another question in that is that we are talking about repetition of same news. That is actually you are repeating the same content again and again. A sixer by Dhoni or a catch dropped by someone, if you show it 80 times, it is not going to get you more eyeballs. And this whole fallacy about good TRPs getting you good business is not right. I can tell you that. When I was doing my research, we had only listed companies because it's easier to monitor them. One company, I thought, one or two companies which are not listed, I do that, and I do Times Now research. And Times Now is a channel which has, in 10 years, the cumulative losses are 554 crores. The total profit Times Now had made, that too only in the last 3 years, is 34 crores. So you can imagine a company with a turnover of 256 crore a year, their best year, which was last year, when the advertising revenue of everyone else was jumped up to 15 and 16%, their best performance was 24 crore profit last year. And the margin was less. Profit margin was only 10%. While for the peers, for the other companies, it was much higher, the ZTV, TV Today and all that. So, high TRPs is not, they don't always get you good money. So,
actually, I think I worked in the media before that based on the Telugu news channels are 100% surveyed by the TAM ratings. Like, if the rating is good, the ads will be more.
The only thing about rating is that the leader in the market, if it has been the leader in the market in news television for a consistent time, you get about 50% better rates in advertising. That's the only thing, and that's the only, and that's why the only channels which have held that position, which is in business, it's CNBC, in Hindi, it's Aaj Tak, so they get better this thing, and their bottom lines show that. Otherwise, I don't think if someone is watching something, you have to also market that product. You have to market that product also, that I'm getting more eyeballs, so you pay me more money. And you have to convince the advertiser for that. And the advertiser is not convinced, it's okay. See, English news advertising rates are 7 times more than the Hindi news. That's why, because they are getting the prime market. And that happens everywhere. And that the prime product will get.
Good news is no news. It's suddenly struck in my mind. That is, it is so true in our Indian scenario that news with a positive shade is not really cared, or there's more news of negative shade hitting our news headlines, may it be print media or electronic media.
Is that the thing with our Indian this thing, or like if you just see the news, there's more interest in scams, there's more interest in accidents, there's more interest in the corruption that's going on, probably in a government system. But parallelly, there might be so much good going on in this society. Some doctors doing so much good work, some officers doing so much good work, but that never gets highlighted as much as it ought to be.
I agree with you. I agree with you that we have too much negativity in our news, and I'm waiting for one of you who's got about $100 million to spare to start a channel which is only shows good news all the time. Because there's a lot of good happening in our country. When you go and travel in the hinterland, there are people who are doing good work. There are excellent best practices in our industry, different industries in different areas. We are doing it. But believe you me, we started a column when I was working in Sunday Observer. It was called the Good News column, and I was made the in charge of that. And it was a weekly magazine, and I lasted only 4 months. Because people were just not, they just don't want good news. So that's also, this is also a creative thing. It's about content creating, that how do you present good news as not boring and as inspiring and informing. All of you are here because you want to be informed about something, and maybe, a lot of you have some inspiration. So that's what is lacking in our news business. But there are people who are doing it. There are magazines who are doing it. I go their Twitter accounts. I see Khabar Lahariya. It's a very nice. It's run by women working in villages, and the best practices of what they are doing in the education and health, which is coming from there. There is a rural online People's Archive on rural India, which is another area where you are doing it. So people are doing a lot of work, but it's not making money. And I tell you that if you do it well, and if you do it right, Walking with the Dinosaurs is a documentary made by the BBC. It was shown in 102 countries, and it turned around BBC Worldwide's fortunes. It was a good thing, produced well, marketed well, and it earned them about $160 million something, just one documentary in different languages. They had to dub it, and the dubbing question also comes there. 102 countries it was, and it turned around everything for the BBC. It was good news and it was done well, but the content is king. And please let me know if someone has $100 million to put it together. Good News Channel, I'll go and book it today.
Probably all of
I'll
us can
register that
prove.
name.
My question is to Pankaj. What is the future of sports-related content in this country, particularly after the emergence of ISL and IBL, all those sports leagues? And another question is, when cricket is a religion in our country, why is that domestic cricket not patronized?
Sports-related, I could understand the first question.
Sports-related content. What is the future of sports-related content in this country?
Very big. Star has just launched, I think, 4 or 5 sports channels just for cricket. And if the future is bright for kabaddi, they'll start a kabaddi channel also. If the future is bright for hockey, they'll start a hockey channel also. Whatever gets you good revenue, people will get into that. The local or regional cricket you are talking about, it's not being sold properly. Otherwise, I can see in the future, 5-6 years, that the way the English Premier League and the clubs are covered in Europe on television channel, and the kind of revenue they have generated there for television industry, I see you'll be seeing Ranji Trophy match. The first time, Ranji Trophy matches are being actually shown properly. And once people start watching them and taking that kind of interest, people will come forward.
Thank you.
And about religion and cricket, we have 8 religious channels, only in Hindi. We call them the Baba channels, and I don't know because I don't watch in other languages, there must be more. So India has its religion which is different than cricket, so don't worry about that. And that's doing very well financially. It takes only 5 crore rupees to run a religious channel. I've been to one for they called me for their launch. It takes only 5 crore because the content is very cheap. Because Babaji sits there the whole day and they broadcast that thing. This is the cheapest content.
Basically, the bottom line here is this industry is growing very fast. There are lots of new opportunities coming up, and clearly there are associated challenges. But one of the aims of this is to encourage people, entrepreneurs, young students to take up a career in this industry and try to, with the coming of newer, fresh thinking, there can be a lot of innovation in both content and business models, which is really required. Now there is one issue that I think we could not touch upon. Whenever we look at this industry, we look at it from the point of view of the content creator or the companies that are producing something for consumers to consume, and whether there is money or not. I have had significant discussions with Pankaj and Bharat and others on this issue, that this industry is extremely critical, way beyond entertainment. If you think carefully, all your thoughts, your knowledge, your attitude, your beliefs are formed because you have consumed some content through the media somewhere, either through news, newspapers, internet and so on. If this industry is not doing well, your entire mind space is contaminated. And that has an influence on a far greater influence on countries like India that are democratic. If you look at the Anna movement or other movements, where do you get the content? How do you think about it? Whether you evaluate a politician or not. So this is extremely important for all of us, that this industry remains healthy and people such as yourself take a chance to be there and create good environment. Just to share a little bit more with you, Pankaj and I started this media hub at ISB precisely to take a small step in this direction, to build a bridge between the industry and academic institutions like ISB, so that we can create good people who want to go out and work in this industry, as well as use research to solve industry's problems and create a very healthy ecosystem. And that is still in its very early stages. But I think it's a responsibility of most educational institutions like ours to provide a platform for students to learn about this industry and take an interest in that and be well prepared for the industry, so that industry can employ them. On behalf of ISB and TIE, I would like to thank all our participants, our panelists, for sharing their insights and coming all this way to spend time with you. Thank you, and thanks all of you for coming here.